OMG, really? Saving the country from shrooms and weed. Good jobs, officers. I agree. They should definitely give themselves a pat on the back, right? Good morning and good afternoon. It is Saturday, July 27th, 2024. We hope you had an amazing week this week, and this is your weekly blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ. I'm your host, Jason Beck, and please remember to smash that like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as well as drop us a comment below of what you think about this week's blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ. And rolling right into our first story of this week's blunt wrap-up, Biden makes a stunning decision to pull out of the 2024 presidential race. The president's decision plunges the Democratic Party into an unprecedented scramble to anoint a new nominee at the 11th hour. And backs Harris? Nah, they're going to throw Michelle in there. Oh, man, some highlights from this. Harris says she intends to earn and win this nomination. And Trump says he believes Harris is easier to beat. Biden, 81 years of age, says he will serve out the remainder of his term, and the Democratic National Committee plans their next steps. The saga of the circus continues, you guys. If officially nominated, Harris, 59, would become the first black woman to lead a major party ticket in U.S. history. A former Attorney General of California and former U.S. Senator, she ran unsuccessfully for president against Biden back in 2020. And Republicans hint at a legal challenge to switch, you guys. Oh, man, that's right. I hope everyone has their popcorn ready. The source of this article originally came out of Reuters. And, man, I'm going to tell you a few thoughts that I have on this. I find it appalling that the Democrats are not allowing the Democratic base to choose their nominee. It's basically they're doing the same thing to Biden as in his re-election campaign as the Democrats did to Bernie Sanders a few years ago. In the 2020 election. So it doesn't surprise me and really at all whatsoever. I just really feel bad for the Democrats that they don't get to actually choose their actual nominee. They just, Democrats, the DNC, seems like they are just appointing one. But I guess we'll wait and see what happens at their convention when they have this next month out in Chicago, Illinois. But let's hear what you guys have to say. Enough about me. Let's hear what you guys have to say. And on one other note, if I do happen to murder your Instagram name, I do apologize in advance. It is not intentional. Now, let's see what you all have to say about this. Canna Management Group says, stunning. We've been calling for this for a year. I mean, fair point, Canna Management Group. Good to see you guys in here. Catalyst CEO says, stunning. Happy Zenny G says, poor Trump doesn't have a chance against anyone other than Biden. He's for sure lost now. Laughy face. Feel you, that is pretty good. The Pot Buddha says, Biden's going to be pissed tonight when he watches the news and sees he's not in the running anymore. That is pretty funny. Dolo Money Entertainment says, Michelle, the only person on the planet that can beat Trump. I'm not sure if Michelle can beat Trump, but I know there is a lot of people that are saying that. And Canep Wagon says, all predicted months ago, all part of the plan. Enjoy the show. We aren't part of the club. Well, speak for yourself. I know I'm part of the club. I'm here for it. _ Uncle Job says, can't wait to be called a racist for the next 3 months because I'm not interested in voting for Kamala. Well, that is their number one ticket to persuade people to vote, is calling them things like that, nasty things. But nonetheless, I mean, man, it's going to be an interesting thing. I'm glad I got plenty of popcorn stocked up. Beastie Blunts _ NYC says, not D.A. Harris, LMAO. She left thousands of women without a baby day in Cali while she was the district attorney, LMAO. Y'all sure you want mass incarceration for black men again? Robin Hood Farm says, the only dude to ever intentionally pull out. That is a good one. Very good. Peepsy DeCola says, let us not forget why her last run wasn't publicly accepted or voted for. It was due to her actions as Attorney General in California. Also pardoning and releasing rapists and murderers with funding. Absolutely, Way. Fair point. Black and Cajun 45 said, thought she was Indian. Just claims to be black. Well, actually, she is black too because she is of Jamaican heritage, and I would classify that as black. But nonetheless, I'm not a geneticist, so who knows nowadays? The Laughing Plant says, Blacklist is a Q-tard. That is pretty funny. Kosher Frenchie says his father should have pulled out. And I assume that they are referring to President Joe Biden's father. Humboldt official says, Hillary is behind the scenes going to try to take it. Michelle don't have no type of merit and can only get teenage girls to vote for her and the black community. That's it. It's looking like a Clinton Newsom ticket to me. That's an interesting one, interesting combination. But nonetheless, I do believe that Hillary is trying to pull some strings to see whatever she can do. That's just Hillary's nature. Slide Tech says, this group of clowns running the show is absolutely pathetic. I'm pretty much in agreement with that. Drip Formeva C says, where are all the low IQ people saying vote blue no matter who? Maybe people are smartening up. Who knows? You never know. And Eden Farms official says she locked up over 1,500 people for cannabis after Prop 215 in California. She is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Michelle is too busy hanging out with Bruce Jenner. Dismayish says, why do they keep focusing on the fact that she's black and not Indian? She's half and half. Why is the black portion all that matters? I agree with you. It sounds like a little bit of discrimination or, identity politics, maybe. Who knows? John Zazleaf says, and the Game of Thrones plays on. Seriously, though, if these guys can talk Mark Kelly into running as Cam's VP, they might do some damage to Trump. Although after the deep state bungled that assassination attempt, we all are thinking, wow. First time since the Kennedys do we have a president candidate that scares the deep state. There's a lot of truth in a lot of those things that you mentioned right there, John Zazleaf. And I do think Mark Kelly would be an interesting running mate for that. That would help them with Arizona. That is for sure. I'm just trying. 209 says, President of Ukraine been blowing Biden phone up, making sure that money's still coming. That's pretty good. The Set Dispensary says, Hillary and Gavin. That would be an interesting combination, too. But I doubt that Gavin would go for being a vice president, but who knows? Dino Capone says, I don't see how they can choose anybody other than Harris. She is the running mate. She's on the ticket, and if they choose anybody else, every single Democrat voter had no opportunity to vote for their president. The government just picked one. Exactly what I was alluding to in my opening statements. Exactly that. Bows and Pistols says, stunning is the most unsuitable adjective. Expected, appropriate, overwhelmingly agreed upon, and even best would work better. Stunt Hausnick says, only Democrats will cry about Trump killing democracy, all the while literally disregarding it and planting their ideal candidate after the primaries. And the Democrats are so brain dead they won't make the connection. Flush Fender Rolling says, well, like the Bible says, the Antichrist comes when an evil woman comes to power. I feel like we're watching The Simpsons. And the Harimist Garden just has a great little meme for you guys to watch. And moving right along into story number 2 in this week's blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ. And a man, 43, shot dead, left hanging out of a U-Haul van that cops find packed with marijuana. A 43-year-old man was shot dead in Queens early on Thursday and left hanging out of a U-Haul van packed with marijuana. Police and law enforcement sources said cops responding to a 911 call shortly after 1 a.m. found the unidentified victim with a gunshot wound to the head in front of 3232 208th Street and half hanging out of the rental vehicle filled with marijuana. The victim was pronounced dead at the scene, and a second man at the scene of the slaying, a 21-year-old, told police that thugs stole his cell phone. It is unclear if the two incidents are related, and the NYPD is investigating the incident. No arrests have been made in this case, and the NYPD has been cracking down on illegal pot shops in recent months as the peddlers have popped up throughout the 5 boroughs, opening without official licenses, you guys. Source for this article is out of the NY Post. And man, oh man. Well, first of all, it is always tragic anyone loses the life behind senseless violence and whatnot. And this is just a sad story, but at the same time, these politicians, with the way that they have the market set up, it just creates a breeding ground for things like this. And it's just a sad, sad state. But you guys have a lot of interesting conspiracy theories in regards to this. So rolling right on into your comments, you guys. Callie_Blaze says, that's 6 blocks from where I grew up. Shit is real. You ain't ever lied, Callie. Jenny, who is also a correspondent on High at 9 News, says, oh boy, this one is tough. 2 L's, just so sad. That one was a life. You are right, Miss Jenny B. You are so right. It was a life, regardless of what it was all about. Strain Fiends says, they smoked dude and left the tree. Definitely a paid hit. GW Smoke Break TV says, take notes, boys and girls. Thievery is the quickest way to flush yourself down the toilet. I agree. It's not good to be a thief. It is. No one likes a thief. That's for sure. 448 Surge says, TP for the wrong people. You'll get smoked by they ops. There's a personal message in leaving all the work behind. I mean, or maybe they just didn't have a suitcase or a bag big enough to fit everything, but who knows? Coach Jayza says, imagine dying for mids. I agree with you on that. That's pretty screwed up. Biscotti God says, stealing loads with the trackers on them. Crazy, right? I know. Pot ENYC_ says, dude was probably mad it was all sprayed on terps. I mean, that's a good reason for leaving it behind. Fair enough. Richie Rich 007 says 500 units of fresh OKC boof has been removed off the NYC streets. It's probably a good thing they got all this stuff, right? Endless.cashflow says that was probably a hit. They took the other guy's phone because they didn't want him to call the cops. That is possible. I could totally see something like that happen, but it's also possible that the guy who claims that his phone got stolen was the hitman at the same time too. Who knows? I mean, New York isn't solving crimes. It's not what they're known for, at least under this district attorney's administration. And dabjuice.com says, damn, our condolences. We couldn't agree more. Dabjuice.com. Luke.dubia says, talk about killing the competition. That's a good one. SkirterCobain.official says, maybe they were robbers in the first place and were followed because of the trackers and got dealt with accordingly. That might be the best end of the scenario right there if that was the case. Django for PF, personal message hitting the TP and leaving the goods. A lot of people thought that in this feed. Chili_1 says, New York is so effed up, this might be a road rage, and now the killer's reading the story like, oh man, I missed the bag. Bayside, New York was named Little Amsterdam by the cops in the early 2000s. If you know, you know. Man, that could be a possibility too. Could you imagine that? Just shooting someone from a road rage and then seeing this later? Oh man, that is so crazy. And Smart_Cure says, death by boof. Worst way to go out. Very sad. It is very, very sad. Very, very, very sad. And we're going to pause for a short PSA, and we're going to play this video showing these za packs getting creative. You guys out here in the streets are so creative. Oh my goodness. I want to get a stimulus check. I love those stimulus checks. Just deposit it with zero guilt.
And I done seen all the craziest za packs, bro. They got za coming in a stimulus check. I'm not gonna lie, the level of detail is crazy. And the crazy part is, right, when they was having the stimulus checks and they was giving them Jones out, this is exactly what my bread went to is za. That's crazy. Hold on, let me open it up and get y'all right real quick. Nah, they really got the stimmies, but with za though. Yeah, I'm saying stimulate your lungs, nigga. Word took.
Moving right along into story number 3 in this week's blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ. And yes, that's right, I've got to put on my Sinaloa cap for this, you guys. Because the U.S. arrests 2 leaders of Mexico's Sinaloa cartel, El Mayo Zambada, and son of El Chapo. That's right, you guys. The FBI arrested the leader of Mexico's Sinaloa cartel, Ishmael El Mayo Zambada, and Joaquin Guzman Lopez, son of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, on Thursday. They were apprehended in El Paso, Texas, without incident, and Zambada, a long-time U.S. fugitive with a reward of up to $15 million for his capture, co-founded the cartel with El Chapo. Zambada co-founded the cartel with El Chapo. Chapo was captured in 2016 and is currently serving a life sentence in the U.S. Joaquin Guzman Lopez and his brothers have also been involved in leading the cartel. The U.S. Justice Department says Ishmael El Mayo Zambada, a longtime leader of Mexico's Sinaloa cartel, and Joaquin Guzman Lopez, a son of another infamous cartel leader, have been arrested by authorities in Texas. And this comes out of Real Ones Know. Interesting. So interesting, you guys. Now, there are so many different conspiracies in this. I do find it super interesting that they happen to get picked up in Texas. It almost seems unbelievable, but man, you guys had a lot to say about this, and I smell something fishy. I don't know if it's a rat or what, but I definitely smell something. Or who knows, it could just be some plot by the deep state that is just masking this as a distraction. But you guys bring up a lot of good points. TX Christiang says, took over after El Chapo's capture. Nah, he was the boss all along. Smoking_with_dad says, still won't stop the CIA from flooding the streets with fent. Probably true about that. Breedendor_ says, never been captured, but now all of a sudden captured in El Paso, Texas, out of all places, LOL. Okay. See, I'm with you on that. Randy_13 says, planned. Deals were made, and just to make the FBI or DEA look like they accomplished something. News flashed, El Mencho still out there, and he a bigger fish at the moment. Strip 4 Xavier says, if y'all think this is crazy, wait till y'all hear about the Ovidio Guzman rumors. Jay Ramsey says, watch Biden release them without bail. That's funny. Maybe you'll give him a pardon or something. El Chife says, it's not in national news because in Mexico and everywhere else in the world, it is known that they voluntarily gave themselves in. Interesting plot twist right there. G Funded says, rumors going around saying he was tricked by one of Chapo's into coming here. They were together when the jet landed in Texas, and all of a sudden, Olivio is no longer in U.S. custody, you guys. Oh, we made that reference of Olivio in just a previous comment. Interesting. Where there's smoke, there's fire. 3L Kibi says, the world entertainment industry working hard, attacks politicians, oncoming elections, arrests of some of its DEA actors, and the American live circus. It's time to print more green money. It's right about that. Kim Jong-razan says, supposedly El Mayo was talking to the feds for the last 3 years about turning himself in. They flew a plane into El Paso from Mexico with agents escorting him to El Paso. Interesting. Chicago Muhammad's.Chicago94 Goat says, they backdoored him, El Mayo, into thinking he's going to look at property in Brazil. A high-ranking member of the Sinaloa organization snitched on them too and turned them in. The flight plan shows scheduled destination for Brazil. Interesting. MD Wagor says, LOL, sure. Cartel raided the police in Mexico when one of the kids were apprehended years ago, but gave up peacefully in Texas. This is a farce, he says. Regent Tough Farms LLC says, AKA they are having a meeting with the CIA Trade Guns for Drugs program. I like how you spelled CIA. That's pretty good. Wild B-Boy 710 says CIA is probably trying to get their people up in their ranks or trying to keep their existing pets in position of power. This is Rodrigo _ says it's all cap. There was a lot of people saying stuff like that. Levi Di Mina says another one of El Chapo's sons. Osvaldo got released a day prior. Coincidence? I think not. Mayo's CIA deal had an expiration date. Interesting. Miguel _ is base says prices just went up. Oh man, look at those prices. They're going so high, you guys. And SD619 Kush says they made a sweet deal with the Biden-Harris administration because they already know Trump wouldn't have treated them as fairly. Interesting. Very interesting conspiracy theories and rabbit holes, and that was fun to go down with you guys. But now I have to take off my official Sinaloa cap as we proceed on, because now we have this week's fourth and final story in the blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ, you guys. That's right, we have an exclusive look inside a $10 million weed and mushroom bust. Go ahead and play that video, because the NYC mayor, along with the NYPD and sheriff, make the largest bust. NYC mayor and sheriff just came up on some block work, says the Blacklist. Oh man, this is so funny, you guys. This video, this just cracks me up. Their little press releases whenever they want to pat themselves on the back for doing so good. And you know, and in all fairness, maybe they are doing good because they're probably just riddling the streets of less boof. And that is a good thing for everybody. But nonetheless, let's see what all of you guys have to say about this, because this is a humdinger, you guys. 420 Honey _ Incorporated says, maybe give out some licenses for the obviously massive demand. Fair point. They're slower than molasses, and with all the turnovers in the OCM and everything else like that, it doesn't seem like they are trying to get a hold on this situation at all whatsoever. Jungle Boy says 10 million laughy faces. I feel you. There's no way that's $10 million. I totally agree with you guys on that. Bodie_uncut says, look like the city is about to open shop of their own. It does look like that, right? It looks like a lot of people were saying that. It does look like a little pop-up shop, like they're about to just get their little trap on with their badges and guns, and you know what I mean? JP_bomb says, and it won't affect it a bit. You're right, because there is so much boof out there. You are probably right. The Albichemist says, why him? And the cops looks like a vendor set up at the sesh, though, standing behind the table with the packs in the background like it's part of a booth. You are 100% right about that, bro, all the way. Ment_owner says, but all the fentanyl is still out there, LMFAO. One_of_us says, 10 million in sprayed boof. That might be the realest statement of the day. So right. Shots by Shana6 says, OMG, really? Saving the country from shrooms and weed. Good jobs, officers. I agree. They should definitely give themselves a pat on the back, right? NYC 420 all day says, good weed isn't sitting anywhere in that quantity. Read that again. That's another good point. That's another reason why you know it's so much boof or spray packs or all that crap that just, I don't understand how anyone smokes it, but whatever. RNR_MD says, LOL, who they reselling it to? Those are the real questions. Fair point. The _mycelium network says, the mayor looks like he is shopping. You are so right. It does look like he's shopping. It's like, oh, I can take all this. Magic City Lemonade says, but no one on the Epstein list is locked up. That would be the biggest bust in history. Good point. Good point. The _515_boys say, weed, the last thing NY need to worry about. You are so right. They need to worry about cleaning up their streets, without a doubt. Emperor_JZ says, y'all got no business confiscating that. Give it back. I mean, really think they're going to give it back? Hell no, they're going to resell it, if anything. Stop it. Stop the cap. Pixels_better gaming says, I'd rather them bust 100K worth of fentanyl than 10 million worth of weed. I totally agree with you on that. That is a very good point. I would way rather see them busting fentanyl, but you know, they like to go after the low-hanging fruit a lot of the times. It's not as dangerous for them. Pro Swab says, so many violent criminals out there eating mushrooms and smoking weed. Laughy faces. Rose Delaney 806 says, but they won't stop the migrants who are literally killing people, beating people, stabbing people, raping people. Go on and on and on. They definitely are not prosecuting crime in New York. You're totally right about that. They're not even arresting people out there for different crimes. Darks XX Princess X says, lols, that shit might have been 10 million when it first left California. Now it's just boof old shit. I don't even buy that it was 10 million worth when it left California. I'm not buying that. It's probably like 50 grand worth, and they're just trying to boost their numbers because you know how law enforcement works. The bigger the bust, the bigger the boost. JO_glass says, is it really a bust when they advertise it right on the front of the building that's selling it to the open public? All they have to do is walk in. I mean, fair point. Fair point. Liberty Med says they care now that there's tax money in play. That's probably the only reason they care, in all fairness, Liberty Meds. And Irie Defight says, looks like a fire pop-up. You're right. Little secret sesh over here just popping up. Shiesty50 says, I thought weed was legal in NYC. You're right. I thought they were trying to say that no one should be in jail for a plant and all that, and they campaigned on that. And it's hypocrites, man. Zone Flower Bender says evidence is about to go missing. They're excited because their next party is about to be bonkers. Well, I hope your next party this weekend is going to be bonkers as much as these cops' party is going to be. And nonetheless, thank you all for tuning in to this week's weekend episode of The Blacklist XYZ's Blunt Wrap-Up. I'm your host, Jason Beck, and make sure to tune in to High at 9 News every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast for America's #1 daily cannabis news show, High at 9 News, as well as continue to comment on all of the posts the Blacklist XYZ and the Blacklist post throughout the week for your chance to be featured on next week's Blunt Wrap-Up of the Blacklist XYZ. Have a fantastic weekend, and don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as well as drop a comment down below with what you think about this weekend's Blunt Wrap-Up of the Blacklist XYZ, brought to you by High at 9 News and Cloud Media Partners. Have yourselves an amazing and safe weekend, everyone. Watch out for that boof.